Hello! I'm yet on another Brontë adventure, and today I'm going to take you with me to show you where the Brontë story actually started. So, off we go! So today I'm in Guiseley, which is between Leeds and Bradford, and I'm at St Oswald's Church, and this is the church that Patrick Brontë married Maria Bramwell on the 29th of December 1812. So here's how Patrick and Maria met. So Maria moved from Penzance in Cornwall to here up in Yorkshire. Her uncle, Mr Fennell, and obviously his wife, Mrs Fennell, worked in a boys' school, and it was a school for minister's son. And he was sort of the headmaster, and she was a housekeeper and general, do everything else. So when Maria came, obviously it was great because she could help out, because things were, you know, just the two of them was quite hard, so it was great to have another pair of hands. They had a daughter called Jane, who was obviously Maria's cousin, and they all lived together and worked in the school. I had to show you these flagstones around the church. I noticed that all the stones had crosses on them, and I thought that that might represent something, like maybe where graves were. So I asked one of the volunteers inside, but she just laughed and said people had been stealing the flagstones, so they marked all their stones from now on with crosses on them to put people off. And later in the day I saw children jumping from cross to cross, and so if nothing else, they entertained us today. We know Maria and Jane were good friends as well as cousins, so it was a very good introduction to Yorkshire, because obviously she'd moved 400 miles away from her family in Penzance to here to Yorkshire, and it must have felt overwhelming and cold. And as a southern girl moving north, I can clarify, yes, there is a bit of a temperature difference, even though you wouldn't be able to tell today. It's beautiful. So it would have been lovely for Maria to have had Jane here, and then of course meeting Patrick quite quickly. It must have been a whirlwind summer for them all. Occasionally, Patrick Brontë would visit the school because he knew Mr Fennell, and on one occasion he even did a report to see how the classics lessons were going and were the boys learning anything, which turned out they weren't, and the classics teacher was fired. But obviously he was there quite often and got to know Maria. Also, Patrick's friend, William Morgan, was friends too with the Fennell family, and had a soft spot for Jane, Maria's cousin. So the four of them all started to hang out together. I don't think they would have called it that, but you get my gist. And they became friends, and friendship turned into more, and they all fell in love, and it was all very sweet. And in the end, Patrick and William proposed to Jane and Maria, and they decided to get married. It was all a whirlwind romance. It all happened very, very quickly. We know there's letters in August talking about Mariah accepting Patrick's proposal, and we know they got married on the 29th of December 1812. So, you know, that's a few months really when you think of it, but they were that bit older. Mariah was getting to the age when really, you know, she was going to be classed as on the shelf if she didn't get married soon. So I'm assuming they thought, we love each other, we want to, why not? So the wedding was planned for December. Just happened to arrive while the church were preparing for a wedding later that day. This is the original section of the church, and this is the altar where Patrick and Mariah's wedding took place. On the wall beside the altar is a copy of their wedding certificate and a plaque to mark the occasion. And the funny thing is that they decided to have a double wedding. So both the men, Patrick and William, were both clergymen, so they decided to take each other's wedding. So Patrick and Mariah got married first, and William was the minister, and Jane was Mariah's bridesmaid. And then straight after their ceremony, William got married to Jane, and Patrick was the minister, and Jane was the bridesmaid. How sweet is that? Lovely as well. This is in the newer section of the church, but I had to show you because look at all that detail.
This is where the choir were practising in the newer section of the church. It's like a mini York Minster. I thought I'd better go outside again now because the bride is on her way.
Isn't it lovely that they came here and got married together, friends together? I think that's lovely. There were a few letters surviving between Mariah and Patrick, and one of them, just after she agreed to marry him, she says, let me check, "Him who I love beyond all others." I mean, isn't that lovely? But then there is also another quote when she called Patrick, ooh, Indy, called Patrick my dear saucy Pat. So can't actually think of Patrick anything other than the old man that we see images of, but he was a young man once.
Just then all the bells started up. And this is the other side of the altar where Patrick and Mariah were married. Then the bride arrived at the church, so I went for a sneaky peek. I was told that the bride was a member of the choir and had sang here for years, so the choir really wanted to sing at her wedding. How lovely!
And the other thing I forgot to mention, that obviously Patrick was at Hartshead, so it's only a few miles away from this church and from Woodhouse Grove. So, you know, it was all in local travelling. He used to walk apparently from his lodgings to see Mariah, so that's lovely and sweet, isn't it? So thank you for joining me today on this jolly. It's great to come to a place where you've read about but you've not actually seen, so finally I can picture it in my mind when I think about it next. Obviously it was great coming today when there was an actual wedding on. I didn't know the person, it was just coincidental, and I kept out of their way, so don't worry. But it was great because you kind of felt the excitement that they, Patrick and Mariah, and obviously Jane and William would have felt on their wedding day. It was great to come here and everyone was so nice. The people helping out at the wedding were happy for me to have a look around the church before the service started. So thank you for everyone at St Oswald's for letting me visit today. So please do that whole likey subscribey thing because it really does help me out and it lets YouTube know that we want to watch more Brontë content. And it's really lovely to read all your comments from all around the world. I can't get over that. So far and wide. It means so much to me that people are watching and enjoying my videos. So yeah, please keep it up. And of course, if you've got any ideas or things you would like to see, then let me know and I'll look into it for you. But anyway, take care and I will see you next Friday for more Brontë adventures. See you soon. Bye.